Exactly right. It's a play-in game for the national championship. I bet that's what they're calling it.
Well, it is a semifinal game. It's one of these two teams is going to face off against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for the national championship in Miami. I think the national championship game is sometime in March or something now. I guess it gets later and later.
But this is all an overrated league. Remember that. It's just all overrated. The SEC, remember, the columnist is for CBS Sports and Greg Doyle and talking about how this league is overrated. If it's so overrated, why is it a play-in game for the national championship?
Well, my question, if it's so overrated, if you really want to gauge how a team or how a football team is perceived or how a conference is perceived, there's a lot of guys that make money setting betting lines out in Vegas. And all I know is you said earlier this week, we'll talk about this, earlier this week, I don't know if you still got it in front of you or not, the betting lines for the SEC, there were 5 teams that would be favored over Notre Dame in that
Florida at 1.5, and of course Alabama 9.5, and on down Georgia 3.
LSU was favored.
3, yeah. And you thought South Carolina,
Texas A&M was favored.
Texas A&M was favored. So, but I mean, yeah, this is the premier championship game for our conference, without question. And I'm expecting big things today. And I just wanted to say one thing, and we'll move on. But this is what happens in today's media world. Somebody has an idea, they put it out there, write a column, everybody suddenly copies it. They're a bunch of parrots. If you look at SEC as overrated, I just Googled it, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people suddenly got the idea the SEC is overrated. So you put it out there, it's just a bunch of people who grab the idea and go with it, and this is the world we live in today.
You know who doesn't think they're overrated? Harris Entertainment, Hilton of Las Vegas, Mirage of Las Vegas. They don't think the SEC is overrated.
And that's what matters if you want to get it right now.
Yeah, that's really what matters. There are some other games today, though, on the slate in college football. You got Oklahoma at TCU this afternoon.
Noon game.
You got Oklahoma State at Baylor, a noon game. Baylor, the head coach at Baylor, getting a lot of talk from
Art Browse.
Yeah, Art Browse from our friend John Adams. You gave John Adams, we're going to listen to an interview later that you did with John Adams earlier in the week, where you gave him a list of 5 or 6 names, and the last name he spoke about was Art Browse, and he thinks that may be one of the best head coaching candidates out there
at Tennessee, and of course he is a columnist for the Knoxville News Sentinel.
The name that would surprise me, though, is that Tennessee is now saying their sources, it's being reported, sources at Tennessee saying Gruden is not even in this.
Well, that's definitely out now. I've seen enough and heard enough of people, reliable sources, and coaches denying these things. You can't trust them. But when you get it from good sources, people who know the situation, and now we heard Ron Zook yesterday, our friend Tom Ingram said, Zook said he and Gruden are buddies.
They're good buddies.
They're out. He's out.
Right.
Not as yet. So we can dismiss the name John Gruden from coaching college ball.
So you got Texas playing Kansas State this weekend at the 8 o'clock game. Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Interesting.
It sounds like a sexy game, but it's really not.
Well, I mean, Taylor Martinez can light it up for you. He runs the ball, throws the ball pretty good, tends to throw a few interceptions. Wisconsin now has come back from a poor start. Remember that the coach fired his offensive line coach and first game of the season, and they struggle. They're back, and they can run the football, and we know why. With the ball back there.
Ball, great running back. The problem I have with this game, though, is the only reason these two teams are in it because Ohio State's not available.
Exactly, and that's the problem with the ACC. It doesn't really mean anything conference championships where the best teams aren't there.
Right, and speaking of the ACC, Florida State taking on a Georgia Tech team that's there because weren't they? JJ, help me out. You're the ACC guy with Miami. Was it Georgia Tech like third down the line, but because Miami self-imposed some restrictions and another team couldn't play?
North Carolina.
Because of restrictions.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, it was North Carolina and Miami. Both should have played in the game.
Right.
But North Carolina's got probation imposed on it. Miami did a self-imposed probation ban on championship games. So you got a Georgia Tech team that's 6-6 and in the conference championship.
Well, yeah, they're 5-3 in the conference. You know what's even worse? Wisconsin, they're 4-4 in the Big Ten, and somehow they ended up winning the leaders or legends. I'm not sure which one, but two pretty ugly games tonight at 8.
just not the only marquee game, really, if you look at it, is the Alabama-Georgia game. But it's in an overrated conference, buddy.
Yeah, And Oklahoma's not even going to win their conference unless some things happen. So, that game with TCU.
Well, yeah, Kansas State, if they lose today against Texas, that's a big deal for Oklahoma fans.
Right. That they have to have that happen, exactly. And speaking of that, you guys watch any games last night? I actually watched both of those games, most of both of them. Obviously, Kent State disappointed that Northern Illinois knocked them off in double overtime, and some impressive stats. I'm not ready to elevate either one of those teams to a BCS position, though. I'm just not.
I watched that Northern Illinois game last night.
Mm-hmm.
If either one of those teams had made it into the BCS, they'd have got 72 points scored on them.
Well, it certainly seems that way. I just don't think they're at the level. You don't pass that. They're playing good football. Northern Illinois can light it up. Obviously, got a quarterback who can bring it. He's among the leaders in the country in terms of offense. But by the same token, I just don't think they're ready to play in the bright lights on a regular basis.
Well, I was watching this morning Brad Edwards, who is the BCS guru, does all the math and everything. He said that if Florida State loses to Georgia Tech, Northern Illinois will be a BCS team.
Well, if Florida State loses to Georgia Tech, they ought to be a team. And then Northern Illinois deserves to get in for it. JJ, you made a little sound when I said that about they're not ready to play for in the bright lights. What, do you agree with that?
No, no way. There's no way. What do they have to finish in the top?
Top 16.
16.
Top 16.
And Kent State was coming in at 17, so they were the only team that had a chance.
Remember, UCLA lost yesterday.
Right, that's one team.
That's one team.
There's like four of them, including.
But they say if Brad Edwards is the guru of the BCS, he says the math works out that if Florida State loses to Georgia Tech, I watched him this morning on ESPN. If Florida State loses to Georgia Tech, Northern Illinois will be a BCS team.
Right. Yeah, I believe that. Because Stanford was pretty much going. Even I guess if they lost to UCLA, they weren't.
No, they were not. Stanford. If Stanford loses to UCLA, they're not good.
Which, by the way, UCLA, my preseason, them in the top 10, almost looked really good last night until they blew in the fourth quarter.
It was an excellent football game, I got to tell you. And those teams are playing much better. I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to save it till later. If I'm a school looking for a really good coach, a guy that I'd be able to throw some money at, David Shaw, Stanford is my guy. I am really impressed with this guy. If I'm Tennessee, I'm giving him $4 million and say, come on.
Ooh.
But isn't the coach really? And I know he's at his alma mater, so it would. People say it'd be very hard to get him away because you're at your alma mater. That's your job that you want. But don't you think Mike Gundy could be lured away from Oklahoma State into the SEC? Is there enough draw for saying you're an SEC coach to lure him out of his alma mater job?
Yeah, JJ, because he's a man. He's 40, right?
Exactly. Gundy is my guy. I think he's the best candidate for the job. Adams was talking about Baylor's coach. I'm not very familiar with him, but I know they've been playing well, and I remember they used to be one of the worst teams in college football up until a few years ago.
And developed a pretty good quarterback 2 years ago at Baylor.
Yeah, some guy by the name of RG3. You heard of him?
Some guy named RG3.
Putting up insane numbers.
Think about what Shaw has done the last 2 years. Excuse me. And Stanford's a very physical team, as you know. They're smart. They play smart. I'm really impressed with this guy. I've seen him play 3 times this year, and I think it's that definition of a well-coached football team. He also is a terrific clock manager, which is something that's lost on some coaches.
And they play a perfect offense that you can play in the SEC.
That's correct.
And win
like
in
an
the
SEC type year. It's a good point. And pretty good defense, too, JJ.
Right.
So I like him a lot, and I'm saying, again, if I'm Tennessee, I'm going to go get David Shaw, whatever it takes.
To be able to win at a place like Stanford where recruiting is almost impossible to get the kids you want into the school, I mean, at Tennessee, it's got to be way easier. You know, I don't know anything about recruiting. I just assume that. That guy, I don't know if he's going to get any coaching offers, but he definitely should.
Trust me on this. You'll get offers, and it is much easier to get into Tennessee than Stanford, which is one of the top, because the Yale and the Harvard of the West. And, you know, if I'm Shaw, I'm not so sure I want to go to Tennessee. But I'm just saying, if I'm looking for the best guys right now, you know, and let's be honest, he's an African American. Certainly doesn't hurt any at all. I think it'd be a wonderful fit for Tennessee. Do I think they'll hire him? No.
No, I don't think the name's big enough, buddy.
It's pretty big.
But you know,
Out west, it's very big.
speaking of out west, when we get back, we can take a break. When we get back, it's been a resignation out west on a football team in college.
Mm-hmm.
A little surprising to me who it was that resigned. We'll talk about that next.
This is not the guy who got fired and didn't know it from by email, inadvertent email.
No,
Okay.
it's a little bigger than that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Buddy Saturday Sports Page live from Pyle Broadway. Come down to Pyle Broadway. Hey, we got the Grinders Pick 6 contest sheet out here.
I got my picks ready to go.
We got our picks. We'll discuss those. Come by, though. Come by Pye.
You know what we're missing? Randy Ewers is not showing up.
Randy Ewers.
I think he's throwing it in.
Can I tell everybody, though, what today is at Pye?
Please do.
Chicken and waffles.
Uh-oh.
Stand back. Chicken and waffles. Just telling you. Right here, Pye on Broadway, brunch on Broadway. Come on down. We got a Grinders Pick 6 contest. Who knows? You might even get to take a picture with Buddy Martin. Who knows? And
For $1.
when we get back, we're also going to tell you about a special event going on at Country Club of Ocala.
I've been there this morning already, and
We'll talk about that.
Wait till you hear about what Alexander wants for Christmas.
Well, there you go. We'll do all that next on Buddy Saturday Sports Page on 1370 AM, 96.7 FM, streaming live at WOCA.com. The Source.
Every day we hear another story about innovation or about cutting-edge technology taking place right here in Ocala. The power plant, IHMC, Ocala 489. Did you know that important medical research is also being conducted here that may impact hundreds of thousands of people in the country someday? Maybe you've heard the name Renstar, but like so many others, perhaps you didn't realize that Renstar Medical Research is one of the top facilities of its kind anywhere in the U.S. There are important research studies being conducted by a highly qualified team of medical experts at Renstar, impacting decisions of major pharmaceutical companies and bringing new drugs to market. And you can be a part of these studies, as so many local people have done and are currently doing. Renstar has conducted more than 500 studies since its inception and would like to extend the opportunity to you to be a part of these cutting-edge programs. Call 877-629-5800 or 352-629-5800 if you'd like to know more. Renstar Medical Research, locally owned and operated in beautiful downtown Ocala. Renstar, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. It's Saturday morning football season. Time to kick it off with some great food and one of your favorite beverages. But where to go? Well, try Brunch on Broadway. Check out Football Saturdays at Pye on Broadway every week at 10 a.m. for the perfect blend of football, food, and fun. At Pye on Broadway in downtown Ocala, we'll get you ready for all the big games with the live broadcast of Buddy Martin's Saturday Sports Page on WOCA AM and FM. Saturdays are also good days to stroll around beautiful downtown Ocala. Head to the farm market on the square, and then enjoy Brunch on Broadway just in time to watch ESPN's Game Day on one of our TVs. Of course, Pye is also a great place to dine for lunch and dinner the rest of the week, too. But Football Saturday at Pye on Broadway is special. Pye on Broadway, where you get to the college spirit with Brunch on Broadway as your pre-kickoff menu.
So what did you do with your weekend? Me? I was flying, because I'm taking flying lessons from Ocala Aviation. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, I'd like to give that a shot, but I'm not quite sure. Well, I've got the solution. It's called the Discovery Flight, and that's exactly what it is. It helps you discover the wonder of flying and if it's for you. It's only $99, and it gives you the chance to learn a bit more about the airplane and then actually go for a ride with a flight instructor and take control of the airplane. That's how I got started, and now I'm on my way to being a pilot. Yeah, I know, scary thought, right? But the demand for qualified pilots is stronger than ever, and with the help of Ocala Aviation, you could make a career change and learn to be a commercial pilot. But it all starts with a Discovery Flight. So stop by the flight school, conveniently located at the Ocala Airport, visit the website at ocalaaviation.com, or call 861-7484. That's 861-7484. Ocala Aviation. Your adventure starts here.
We're back on Buddy Saturday Sports Page live from Pye on Broadway. Brunch on Broadway. It's first Saturday of the month. That means chicken and waffles. That's all I know is chicken and waffles. That's what I got up here. I'm your host, Tom Smith, joined by Buddy Martin. When we left there, we talked about a resignation that happened in college football. And we're going to get to that. But right now, something much more important than sports. Food for you. We got Adam Volpe, the chef here at Pye on Broadway. We're talking food. Adam, good morning. How are you?
Fantastic, sir. How are you?
And you see Tom's excited?
It's his favorite day of the month.
And chicken and waffles.
That's right.
How do you not like chicken and waffles?
Well, everybody likes them, of course. Yeah, they're great. I'm a frittata man myself. But,
Indeed.
I had an excellent one last week. What's the special today, by the way?
Well, as you mentioned, the chicken and waffles, where we bread the chicken in cornflake batter after it's been pounded out nice and thin. We fry it, put it over a homemade Belgian waffle, and serve it with some pure maple syrup and a little butter and a side of bacon. And then we have our challah bread French toast, which is an egg bread. And we batter that in a vanilla custard, pan fry it, and serve it with a honey apricot syrup.
Wow.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
but
now,
I love chicken and waffles.
No, I know it. Now, you have, people don't realize that you can order brunch, too. They can order this other stuff on the menu.
Sure.
You come there at 11 o'clock, you can get a sandwich or a pizza, which is really good. A sort of a breakfast pizza type thing, which is good.
Yep.
What about some of those other things like that?
Oh, well, we've got all our normal pizzas, our barbecue, and our...
Creole pizzas.
Yes.
The best pizza on
Really? I have not had the Creole.
The best pizza on the menu.
We've got blackened chicken, blackened shrimp. We've got a Creole tomato sauce, and then okra.
This is the best pizza. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is the best pizza
That's
on the
why
menu.
you like an okra.
There you go.
Well, just real quick, the oven over there, the pizza oven, kind of explain what that is. I mean, I know that's where you put, it's an open hearth, isn't it?
Correct. It's a wood stone oven. We burn it at about 550 to 600 degrees at all times, and it's built right in here to the building behind that brick wall, and we cook most of our stuff in there.
Well, people must be getting hungry. I know Craig and Julie showed up. They're always here, ready to go and ready to get their usual special. So, Tom, you got your order in?
I'm getting chicken and waffles. I know what I'm
All right. All right. Well, Ron called. My friend will be here. We're going to order ours up when we get to the show. Adam, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
And happy cooking back there. Appreciate it. Coach,
Okay, I'm ready to stop the show now and just go eat chicken and waffles.
I know, me too. Let's do it. You want to?
No,
Thank JJ.
JJ will not. JJ won't allow us to do that. I don't believe.
I don't think he will.
I don't believe. So earlier this week, something that if you blinked, you might have missed. Lane Kiffin is the head coach at USC. Everybody's aware of that. He was at Tennessee, then he went to USC, and people still blame him for the ills of Tennessee, what's going on in Tennessee, but he was a USC guy, had worked under Pete Carroll, and went back to where he said his dream job was. Well, he took his father with him. His father, Monty Kiffin, the inventor of the Tampa 2 defense, won a Super Bowl with John Gruden at Tampa. Very good defensive mind. Was a defensive coordinator at USC. Not any longer. Lane Kiffin's dad resigned from Lane Kiffin's staff this week. He'll go coach through the bowl game. What do you make of a dad getting out of the game, buddy? Is this another mark on his son's record, or is it just a guy up in age? Lane Kiffin's not a spring. Monty Kiffin's not a spring chicken. Is it just time for him to? He decides it's time for him to go and step away.
Well, it's hard to say. I wanted the same thing, and I'm sure you did too, JJ. When you saw that, what does it mean? But I don't think we should read too much into this. My friend Chris Mortensen, who's on for years and years, heard him on the ESPN earlier today, saying that Monty Kiffin has still got he's still bright and fresh and physically strong, and he thinks he'll be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. I think probably if you never had a father-son situation where you work together, it's not easy on either party. I've had a situation with me, and I know that for us, we worked through any differences, but it's pretty tough. They said they respected each other coach to coach, but in the end, really, I think it's time for a change for USC. He doesn't want to sit there and preside over the demise of the program. He don't want to see his son fail. I think he thinks I can't help him anymore. I'm going to go back to what I know best, coaching in the National Football League.
Well, the USC defense, Jenny, help me out with some stats if you got them. The USC defense this year, not really that good of a defense. They gave up some points. They didn't look like a Monty Kiffin type defense that you would expect to be tough-nosed, but then when you think of Monty Kiffin's defense, you think of Warren Sapp and those guys at Tampa Bay. He doesn't have NFL players at every position like he did in Tampa Bay. So maybe that it's time to go back to the NFL. And here's another thing, but he makes $1.5 million a year. That's what Rich Rodriguez, the head coach at where was he at? Arizona State? Arizona makes. And it's twice as much as John Embry, who was Colorado coach, who just got fired.
And Embry might have been overpaid, by the way. But
well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, he was making head coaching money for a coordinator position. So
USC was giving up about 25 points a game, but that's not that bad. But again, in the big games, gave up 38, lost to UCLA, gave up 39, lost to Arizona, gave up 62 against Oregon. So that didn't help the average out at all.
That's no shame against Oregon, though, because they laid off everybody except Stanford.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that there might have been this conversation, hey, Dad, I don't want to have to fire you?
No. I think it's this conversation. Hey, Lane, I think it's time for you to go. You got, I can't help you much here. I think I've done all I can do. I want you to do well. Good luck, but I think I should move on now. I think that's how it went. And he said, okay, Dad, fine. Remember one thing about Monty Kiffin. He did do this. He designed the defense on Tim Tebow that slowed him down the first time he played against him against Tennessee when Tebow was not able to. They dropped 8, a lot. Right. That defense was what everybody used against Tebow from there on. So he's a smart guy, but you point out he doesn't have NFL players at USC. It's a little bit of a different game.
It is a little bit of a different game. I just found it that, it was a little strange to me, but once I thought about it and everything, I thought just as you did. He's probably ready to get back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Where he can go back doing his craft the way
he's 72 years old. He probably wants to coach 2 or 3 more years. He figures for him, he's not into recruiting. He figures to go back to his office and watch film, which is what all he ever did at Tampa. Watch film 24/7.
Well, speaking of, man up in age, you're no spring chicken. You're 61, 51, 41, somewhere around there.
Between 50 and 60.
Somewhere around there.
Maybe a little higher.
Right. But you went and saw a white-haired guy today that's ageless.
Yeah,
out of Country Club of Ocala. Tell us about that.
Well, they do some neat things out there. One of the things they do, they have the Easter bunny and all that stuff. And so, Miss Joni said, can we go out to the Country Club this morning and take Alexander to see Santa? Okay.
Santa made a stop at the Country Club.
He did. And so they had a nice crowd there, the breakfast with Santa type thing, built gingerbread house. And I get this for this. So when time came for Alexander to go see Santa, and Alexander's, he just picks his people he wants to talk to. He's not overly friendly to strangers, but he recognizes the red suit and knows something's going on.
He knows
there.
that guy.
He also knows he has to get his list and go up and sit and talk to him. So time came for Alexander to go. He got up there. Santa started talking to them about this, that, and the other. I said something, and Santa said, "Wait, we're not that far along yet." Just, I'm sorry, I don't want to get rushed Santa here.
Right.
You be a talk show host. I'm always trying to move to the next thing.
Right.
So I backed off. Alexander starts with his list. 4 wind-up cars. Santa said, 4? He said, yeah. He said, why not 6? Alexander said, okay, 6.
6, exactly.
He said, then he went on through his list, and he said something like, skateboard. Santa says, let's talk about that skateboard for a second. Is that kind of dangerous? He said, well, I got a helmet. Santa says, okay, well, you got to be careful on the skateboard. So he gets his entire list in, then he says, and one more thing. Outside furniture.
Outside furniture.
Thinking of mom and dad. He heard his mom and dad say, we need some outdoor furniture, And so he says to Santa, and some outside furniture.
So he gets this.
He worked it all right in there.
That's a quality child there, because most kids think of their list and move on. And just got mom and dad on the mind.
And it shows negotiating skills, I might add.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because look, he can come back later to Lloyd Martin Gregory and say, hey, Mom, remember, I asked for outdoor furniture for you.
Exactly. I helped you out. How about you owe me one?
Yeah, got a bargain.
You set it up somewhere along.
Oh, yeah. That's a smart kid's on the ball. So last night I was perusing through the TV, and I see that the Lakers dropped 17 pointers on people last night.
I watched part of that game last night.
Right after an article had come out asking what's wrong with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Do you think Kobe reads his press and decides to turn it up a notch, JJ? You know a little more about basketball than I do. Do you think he reads the press and says, what's wrong with the Lakers? I'll show you what's wrong with us. And they go out in a concerted effort just to...
No, I guarantee Kobe does not care about that at all. The Lakers are just one of those teams that can easily put up 122 against you every once in a while. They're a great team. 17 3-pointers, that's not going to happen every day. But, you know, D'Antoni, he's that kind of offensive guy, man. We talked about this last week when he got hired. He's the run-and-gun type guy.
But then they only scored 77 against the Pacers on Wednesday night.
Right.
And then the first half against Denver.
Yeah.
It's the welcome to the NBA regular season, Tom. It's exactly what it's like. It's different. Every single game's different.
Well, that's why I'm bored with it.
Yeah, I haven't watched a single NBA game this year. It's almost unwatchable till football's over. Shouldn't even be around. We need to go back to last year and do the whole start at Christmas. Like, no one cares about this. Popovich doesn't even care about it.
Well, you know what? I've got, in my "are you kidding me" moment, I'm going to take the NBA to task. But Greg Popovich, I don't think he would like JJ and my plan to start at Christmas and have all these games in a row, because he was a little upset about having 4 games in 5 nights, traveling over 5,000 miles in 6 days. Buddy, you said you think you made a little statement.
Well, you and JJ and Greg Popovich are really all on the same page and don't know it. Because what you're saying is basically, we all know there are too many games.
There's way too many games.
That's how they make their money. They get the TV money.
6 was a good amount of games last year.
But it's never going to change. 82 is going to be what it is. It's never going to change. And they buy the season tickets, and they get the television monster feed. I still can't get used to as many NBA games in November like I did this year. But I think we're all saying the same thing. Greg Popovich, and I have not heard this said to anybody else, what he did was he made a statement to the league that this scheduling is ridiculous, especially in the regular season. What you say, JJ, really doesn't mean that much. And they've devalued this thing so much to the point where nobody cares, including the coaches. They don't really care. They want to win. They want to get home. They know what they have to do come in the playoff time. And so that's what Popovich is saying. This is a ridiculous schedule. I'm sending my players home because I care about what? The playoffs. Right. And he's got an aging team that he doesn't want to have them wore out after an 82-game season so that they're not fresh in the playoffs. Last year, San Antonio made a deep run because they didn't have as many games. Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili's legs were a little fresher than they are after an 82-game series, 82-game season, and they were able to play a little deeper into the playoffs last year. My question is, though, is Greg Popovich making this statement? Is he going to be the lone one out there, or are we going to see more and more coaches start doing this? And David Stern, because let's be honest, David Stern rules with an iron fist. He fined the Spurs $250,000. But what's to stop Eric Spoelstra from stopping the Big Three from going to a Denver Nuggets game, or even the Lakers?
Well,
don't forget it was the Heat. They didn't send it.
Right, and the only visit the Spurs were making to the Heat all year, by the way. But what's to stop, LeBron? I don't want LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh and those guys. It's only Indiana. I don't want to take them up to the Indiana game. I'm going to leave them in mind. Send them home a little early. What's to stop that now?
Well, I'm sure you'll cover some of this in your "are kidding me" moment. But, I mean, it gets back to why Phil Jackson said, I'd like to take a road trip off once in a while if I coach the Lakers. I remember Doug Lowe, when he coached the Nuggets, once took a weekend off and went to Vegas to get a little R&R during the season. And the message to there is, again, that this isn't that important. And and David Stern said, yes, it is. The ESPN is paying good money, and the fans are paying good money, and they expect our stars to show up. So here's the scenario you can talk about in our kidding. What is acceptable? When is it okay for players to sit or be shipped home? And how far do they go over the line? What is this Blake?
Certainly. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get you set up for this week, today's college football games. We'll have our picks plus John Adams.
I got the winners, by the way. I got them all right here.
Well, yeah, you do, as far as you know. Laura Klein's been having the winners here recently.
Please don't mention that anymore.
5-1, 2 weeks in a row.
Absolutely killed us.
We'll reprise an interview, a reprise. Now you got me wondering.
We'll figure that out. Somebody please tell us how this works.
We'll reprise or reprise, however you pronounce it, tomato, an interview that we did with John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel, talking about the
best candidates
for the job, the Tennessee vacancy that's open. We'll do that next on Buddy Saturday Sports Page on 1370 AM, 96.7 FM, streaming live at WOCA.com. The Source.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And State Farm agent Angie Lewis is always there, too, working hard to serve her community as a citizen and insurance agent. At the Angie Lewis State Farm Agency, they go far beyond any slogan. Angie wants to help you adjust your insurance needs as your life evolves, from everything to helping educate your teen driver to protecting your family against everyday risk. They want to change the way you perceive insurance by developing relationships with clients, which is why Angie and her staff are proud to be a part of so many good causes in Ocala. Each week on The Voice of Ocala, they feature a Good Neighbor of the Week, saluting those who give exceptional service or do random acts of kindness to others. They're also big sports fans and sponsor our weekly State Farm State of the State report, which highlights a different college sports program each week. The Angie Lewis Agency of Ocala is located at 1122 Northeast 36th Avenue, where visitors are always welcome and the coffee pot is always on. Call your Good Neighbor State Farm agent today, Angie Lewis, at 291-2444.
Are you happy with how much you're spending on car insurance? Or would you like to pay less? Allstate asked people on the street. Here's what they said.
Would I rather pay less? Yes.
I'm going to go with less.
Is this a trick question?
Turns out, people would rather pay less. Good thing, because drivers who switched to Allstate saved an average of $348 a year.
$348? Oh, not bad at all.
And with Allstate, you don't have to cut coverage to get the price down. A local agent will help you get the protection you need and the discounts you deserve.
Who wouldn't want to pay less?
Dollar for dollar. Nobody protects you like Allstate.
Hi, this is Kevin McDonald. Don't wait. Get a quote today. Call me at 622-2333. Drivers who switch saved an average of $348 a year. Savings based on National Consumer Reported data for new policies in 2009. Actual savings vary. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois.
Rediscover the fun and adventure of Silver Springs, Florida's most natural wonder. You'll be amazed at the moments you'll share with glass-bottom boats, jungle river cruises, and wild animal shows. There's no place like it on Earth. And right now, Florida residents save half off daily adult admission to Silver Springs. Or for the best value of the year, get the all-new Platinum Pass, just $59.99. Your Platinum Pass comes with a full calendar of great concerts like Easton Corbin and Joan Jett. And you'll get a full year of special events, plus VIP entry, free parking with every visit, even a free Wild Water Season Pass. All yours with the Platinum Pass. Buy online now for just $59.99. So make your own special memories at Nature's Theme Park, Silver Springs, east of Ocala on State Road 40, or on the web at silversprings.com.
Picket lines and picket signs.
All right, welcome back to Buddy's Saturday Sports Page. We're live at Powell and Broadway. You can join us anytime this morning. Come down and enjoy some of the fine food and check out some of the games on TV. A good day to watch the Tube today. The talk about college football now is who will be the head coaches of a good 10 or 12 teams who are without head coaches, the major one being Tennessee. Earlier this week, I talked to John Adams from the Knoxville News Sentinel about what will Tennessee do, what move will the Vols make to replace Derek Dooley. John Gruden appears to be out of the picture. So here's what John Adams had to say.
This probably is it's good and it's bad. I remember when Florida was looking for a coach, and we all thought it was Bob Stoops, and Florida purposely led us down that primrose path, and some of us bid on it. And right in the middle of my son's wedding at my house, where I was actually performing the ceremony, I got a call saying it's Will Muschamp. You know, and so it's either the best of times, to quote Dickens, or the worst of times. What's it like for you?
Well, there's just so much interest in it, buddy. I've been through this a number of times in my career. It's kind of an old storyline, but what's different about this particular case is the interest, which is more of a frenzy than an interest. I've never really seen anything like it anywhere I've been over a coach or the prize #1 recruit in a recruiting class. All these kind of things that get college football fans all revved up. But I've just never seen anything like this. And this John Gruden thing has just overshadowed everything else, and it's been this way for a while.
Consuming everything, and we get the usual plausible denials and things like that. We're all going to get. What does your gut tell you about the Gruden thing? Has he been contacted? Do you think he is the candidate? And I know even though the Vol fans want him, what's the reality of that situation?
I never thought it was realistic. However, I do think there's been contact. I do think that John Gruden has said things and expressed interest in it. Excuse me. How far along the negotiations have gone from that perspective, I have no idea. But I just think a lot of times people talk, people express interest. There's interest on both ends. And when you start hammering out the details, things can change dramatically. I mean, I always look at things try to pull back a little bit and look at it. John Gruden can get an NFL job. So instead, he would prefer to take the Tennessee job. And why would he take Tennessee over another college? Because his wife was a cheerleader here many, many years ago. They haven't lived in this area for years. What would be the attraction? I mean, John Gruden could get the Southern Cal job if it came open in another year. If that was really his goal, to get a college coaching job and to try something new. Just and I know logic things don't work out logically all the time, so there's that possibility. But when you look at it logically, I just had a hard time buying into that. But I think the fans are just they want that big name. They want that national sports celebrity on board with them. And I think that's helped generate the rumor, and I think it's kept it going. But there would have had to have been some contact, because this rumor's come up before when Tennessee had to make a coaching change. But nothing like this. This thing has sustained itself for quite a while.
It could be wishful thinking. I feel sorry for Tennessee because they went one direction and hired a guy who had NFL credentials. That didn't work out. They said, well, we'll go for the up-and-coming guy, Derek Dooley. He bombed out. And we had this conversation at the beginning of this year about who made the better choice, Florida or Tennessee, and whether Derek Dooley wasn't up to the task, whether Will Muschamp wasn't a guy getting off his training wheels, whether he was a good choice. Well, it turned out that Muschamp was a good choice, not so much Derek Dooley. Now where does Tennessee turn to? You hear Kirby Smart, you hear John Gruden, even David Cutcliffe, who might be a great hire, but in my opinion, not sexy enough for Tennessee.
Well, no, David Cutcliffe just signed a new contract with Duke. Now, I realize those kind of deals are broken all the time. I just don't think Tennessee would go there. I think in Kirby Smart, there's no way Tennessee can hire a Nick Saban assistant. Absolutely no way. Even if they're convinced he's the next Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Vince Lombardi, Bill Walsh, you name it. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
And Dave Hart has made it in his introductory speech, where he said that Derek Dooley would not be retained. He emphasized the head coaching experience. What I don't get, buddy, is that they haven't gone after Bob Petrino. That's the hire that makes the most sense to me.
Well, that's my next question, and whether he damaged goods or not.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, you've been around the game a while.
I don't mean me. I'm talking about whether Tennessee thinks he's damaged goods or not.
Well, maybe they do, but they need to get past that, because he's a guy that would come in here and show there would be immediate improvement. I mean, I think the Arkansas and Tennessee situations are quite similar. Look how quickly he turned it around at Arkansas. I think he could do that at Tennessee. He's just a really good coach. And I've heard other coaches say, defensive coaches say, he's the guy they least like to go against.
Right.
He is really a brilliant offensive tactician. So you're not just hiring a head coach, you're hiring an offensive coordinator as well. And those are hard to come by sometimes too. So I just don't get that. If you go from John Gruden, see, there's also been a Bob Stoops rumor, which I don't think was anything to it. And now we hear a lot about Jimbo Fisher. Again, why would Jimbo Fisher take the Tennessee job? what would be, other than if he got a lot more money, but what would be the motivation? He would be going to a place where it's harder to recruit, going to a place where the personnel, the talent level was much lower than where he is. And he's going to a place where the schedule is going to be tougher and the competition more demanding.
Harder to win.
So, pardon?
Harder to win than Florida State. It's hard to win Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, you look at their schedule. Next year they go to Oregon the week before they play at Florida. The year after that, they go to Norman, Oklahoma. The following year, Oklahoma comes to Tennessee. So look at the next 3 years where the coach would be, this new coach would come in, and keep in mind that Tennessee's just fired a guy after 3 years. So every year he's playing Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. Every year. And he's also going to be playing in these 3 years, Oregon once and Oklahoma twice. Wow.
Wow.
That's a tough way to go. So where does he think he's going to be 3 years? I mean, if they can go 7-5 with these schedules, I mean, that's going to be pretty good.
And then you got the penalties. Thomas Schmitz has a question for you, our producer.
Speaking with John Adams of the Knoxville News Sentinel. John, I don't have Tennessee ties, so I don't know how the faithful feel up there, but I'm always a believer if you can't beat them, join them. And a guy that took a program that is a perennial doormat, had him 6-6 last year, 8-4 this year with a huge convincing win over Tennessee, is just across the state. He's already got state ties in recruiting and all. I don't see where that James Franklin wouldn't make sense at Tennessee.
Well, I think to an outsider it would make sense. I put a list of names in the paper, and I had him in my top 5 or 6. I think, though, I think there's a pride factor here. Well, Tennessee wouldn't hire a coach from Vanderbilt. Well, right now, Tennessee's not as good as Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
I mean, I think there's some thinking needs to be changed here, and there needs to be a real hard look at the reality of the situation. James Franklin, anyone who's familiar with that job knows what an amazing job he's done there. I mean, I know it's only 2 years. That's not much of a body of work. But you know what Vanderbilt is traditionally. He's recruited better, and he has those guys playing with more confidence and more of an attitude than I've ever seen at Vanderbilt. Suddenly they're actually winning close games. To me, he would be a good candidate for a lot of people. And he is well paid at Vanderbilt, I think, as best I could have been able to determine. So you have to shell out some money for him, but he makes sense for a lot of places, not just Tennessee.
Yeah. John, let me give you a half dozen names and just pick one out of the hat, okay? Of ones that I mentioned and say, all right, let's throw it. We're going to leave Gruden out of this mix and Petrino because they're obvious ones. But let me give you Jim Tressel, Art Briles from Baylor. We mentioned Cutcliffe. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Gary Patterson at TCU. Charlie Strong at Louisville. Anybody resonate with you at all?
Yeah, well, about 3 of those guys were on my top 10 list. Jim Trussel's out because of the NCAA. Tennessee's on probation already. Can't risk hiring a guy with his history with the NCAA.
Right.
That wouldn't happen. Charlie Strong is not on my list because I haven't seen a big enough body of work with him. He's only been there a couple of years, and Louisville in that conference, I don't know. I'm not sold on what he's done. Not saying he won't turn out to have a great head coaching career. The other guys, Gundy, Patterson, been at the same place. I don't like Patterson as much because he did that at TCU when it was in the Mountain West, and it had a recruiting advantage being able to recruit Texas in that conference. So I kind of although I think his teams always look well coached almost every time I see them play. But I would rate him below Mike Gundy at his alma mater in Oklahoma State because Gundy has sustained success. And somebody said, well, he had a bunch of 4-loss seasons. I said, it's Oklahoma State. He's competing in Oklahoma's shadow, and he's competing against Texas and programs with much more tradition, and he's had some success. So I like him for that reason. But the guy I really like is Art Briles, and I don't hear his name coming up at all. I think he would be a great head coaching candidate.
Great offense.
Anywhere. He's done it at Baylor. He did it at Houston. Houston was 0-11 2 years before he got there. He set the table for Kevin Sumlin.
He did.
And then you follow him on to Baylor, where you know how wretched that program has been at times. Right away, he takes them to a bowl game for the first time in 16 years. Then he's got them winning 10 games. He recruited a Heisman Trophy quarterback. He'll turn 57 next month.
Yeah.
But he's had a great career in high school coaching in Texas, won 4 state championships, and developed a lot of high school quarterbacks for college. Now in college, he's developing a lot of college quarterbacks. Not a lot, but he's had several go into the NFL, most notably, of course, RG3, but also Kevin Cobb. So I think he's a great candidate, and I'm surprised his name hasn't come up more.
Hi, this is Buddy Martin. I want to tell you about a conversation I had recently with General Manager Pat Murray on the great family atmosphere at Country Club of Ocala.
It's a family-first club. Again, we have any number of different types of memberships, but obviously the one that attracts the greatest level of interest is our family. And the reason for that is we have a little something for everybody. I mean, we obviously have a world-class golf course. We have 7 tennis courts here for all levels of tennis players. We have a junior Olympic-sized swimming pool. We have a fitness center that's second to none, and we have state-of-the-art equipment in our fitness center.
Country Club of Ocala, where the facilities are all a family would ever need. For more information, call today at 352-237-6644. That's 352-237-6644. Country Club of Ocala, proud sponsor of Monday's Gator Report and Gator Talk Thursday right here on The Source.
Hello, I'm Dawn Lovell, lead event designer and owner at Party Time Rentals. Have you ever wondered what it takes to make an event spectacular? Well, look no further. It's what we do every day. Whether you're hosting an intimate dinner for 10 or a gala for thousands, at Party Time Rentals, we find just the right style and elegance to make your event a success. Our extensive inventory of the finest in chandeliers, tents, crystal, china, and specialty items is featured in our fabulous showroom. Stop by and say hello. It's a great way to get ideas for an event and experience for yourself how you can make your party time special.
Party Time Rentals, located on Southwest 10th Street, just off Route 200 in Ocala, and off Southwest 34th Street in Gainesville. For more information, call 352-629-8858. That's 352-629-8858. The party begins at Party Time.
Hi, I'm Pat Murray, General Manager of the Country Club of Ocala, inviting you to pay me a visit at the finest country club in North Central Florida. Come see why our members and friends embrace the Country Club of Ocala as a beautiful, serene place for those with active lifestyles. We have it all, from our Blue Ribbon Golf Course to our superb facilities. When you want to enjoy golf, tennis, swimming, fitness, or dine on cuisine that is second to none in North Central Florida, the Country Club of Ocala is where you'll want to be. So call me, Pat Murray, at 237-6644.
We're back on Buddy Saturday Sports Page, live from Pie on Broadway, brunch on Broadway, chicken and waffles. Craig Stewart already had his chicken and waffles this morning. Pick six, Grounders Pick Six contest still available for you for a few more minutes up here. Buddy, let's look at one football game in particular on the Pick Six contest.
Yeah, that's the only one I really care about.
Our tiebreaker on the Pick Six contest.
Yep.
Alabama at Georgia. I got Alabama at 28-3. I don't believe Georgia. I believe Aaron Murray is not up for these big games, but you think it's kind of a home game.
Well, we have a lot of people who do think that Georgia has a shot. But we heard others this week.
John Adams,
JJ thinks they
Mark
do.
Long, JJ.
I mean, look, this is the second straight year they've played. It's the state of Georgia, 50 miles from Athens. It's a home game. Let's face it. And they're going to be probably, it'd be split Georgia-Alabama fans, I know. But, I mean, it's definitely an advantage, but probably not enough of an advantage. But what I want to point out is that this team, this game, does have the two top quarterbacks in efficiency, Aaron Murray and A.J. McCarron. And if McCarron returns to the form that he had earlier in the year before he started making mistakes, there's no way Georgia wins this game.
No.
And unless Murray can control himself and not, crumble under pressure, of the pass rush. I don't see how Georgia can overcome Alabama's defense, although their secondary is their Achilles heel. So anyway, that offensive line of Alabama, I think, will prevail. They'll run the football. I think they'll win the game and win it by 10 points.
Well, I beg to differ with you with it being a home game, but I'm going to. Athens is 63 miles from the Georgia Dome. Tuscaloosa's 75 miles from the Georgia Dome. They're both within easy driving distance for both teams. And yes, it's in the state of Georgia, but trust me, there's a large enough Alabama contingent that's going to make that small hour-and-a-half trip to Atlanta that have probably already been there now. I promise you there's a lot of crimson and a lot of red running around Atlanta right now. It's going to be in the Georgia Dome, but it'll be more like a neutral site game than a home game for the University of Georgia.
So you're saying the city of Atlanta has as many Alabama fans as Georgia fans?
I'm saying that this weekend there will be.
No way. Anyway, it's
outside the stadium. Walking on the street to the sidewalk?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's definitely an advantage to Georgia there to have it versus Birmingham, who would favor who?
Oh, but the Georgia fans would make that trip as well.
But it would favor it definitely favors your son.
I think they ought to have the game at Florida Field every year.
Yeah, right. And of course, if they moved it to the Orange Bowl, or what if they claimed that Florida had a home field advantage, although we know there are not that many Gator fans
in Miami. Right. I don't believe the Orange Bowl exists anymore, though, buddy.
Well, it does, but not the real one.
I think they imploded the Orange Bowl, didn't they?
The Orange Bowl, where the Orange Bowl game was played,
Right, yeah. But that's the problem with the SEC. If you move to any of the big southern cities in the SEC, one of the schools is going to have a home field advantage. I understand what you're saying. Atlanta is the logical choice for me to have the game. I didn't think Birmingham was a big enough city for the game. Atlanta is a big enough city for a big football game. Could you have it in Dallas, though?
No.
Would Texas A&M be a part of the SEC?
No, why not have it in the South? It's where it belongs, someplace. And maybe I'll rotate it once in a while. But
I was saying that's a very good option. Rotate between Atlanta, Dallas, and New Orleans. And maybe Tampa.
Dallas, not so much, although now Baylor's in the SEC.
No, Baylor's not in the SEC.
Actually, A&M's in the ACC. However, I think you could move it around. You could move it from Florida, Georgia, whatever. But it's not a huge advantage. It's just a little bit of an advantage.
Just a little bit of an advantage. So, but you see Alabama winning a close football game?
Yeah, I think it'd be fairly close. Don't forget Georgia led LSU last year 10-0 at half,
and then got blown away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be relatively close. I think Georgia's going to have to play run defense, which I don't think is Jarvis Jones' strength, although he's a terrific defender. He's a better pass rusher. And I think in the end that Alabama's running game will grind them down. A.J. McCarron won't make any mistakes. Georgia loses the game by 10. I got it 21-10.
JJ, real quick, you got 30 seconds. Give us how you think the game will turn out today.
Alabama hasn't really impressed me that much this year. I think this is probably the best team they're going to play, or they've played so far. I just feel like Georgia's going to win this one. I'm going to say 24-23.
So there you have it. JJ going with Georgia, Buddy and I going with Alabama. Mixed bag. I bet at the beginning of the season, if you'd have said that Alabama had a shot at losing, nobody would have agreed with you.
It changes. Remember we talked about it?
It does.
It rolls around, and it's gone now as of today. Things change, and it's a different kind of football.
Are you kidding me? David Stern come out and said the Spurs, by Greg Popovich, by sending his 4 starters home, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Danny Granger home before a game against the Miami Heat, that they did a disservice to the league and to the fans. Are you kidding me? You know what a disservice to the league and the fans are? An 82-game season, David Stern. You play way too many basketball games. You put way too much stress on these players, all in the guise of ESPN money and ticket sales money. The league plays too many games. It's too long a season. You've seen last season the good number of games, 66 games. That's what the league should always be at. About 64, 66 games. It was great drama last year, great basketball, and you didn't have people dead at the end of the season and going into playoff time with dead legs so they couldn't make anything happen. David Stern says it's a disservice to the league and to our fans, resting players. It's a disservice to the leagues and fans to have 82 basketball games, David Stern. Are you kidding me? For J.J. LaSalva back at Control Central and Buddy Martin here with me at Pie on Broadway, I'm Tom Smith saying have a great weekend, everybody.
Every day we hear another story about innovation or about cutting-edge technology taking place right here in Ocala. The power plant, IHMC, Ocala 489. Did you know that important medical research is also being conducted here that may impact hundreds of thousands of people in the country someday? Maybe you've heard the name Renstar, but like so many others, perhaps you didn't realize that Renstar Medical Research is one of the top facilities of its kind anywhere in the U.S. There are important research studies being conducted by a highly qualified team of medical experts at Renstar, impacting decisions of major pharmaceutical